Opening a story that stings. He looked exhausted. Not just physically, but deeper, like something inside was unraveling. David, 65 years old, sat across from me in my clinic in Ohio. He was once a truck mechanic, strong, proud, always in control. But today he wasn't sure of anything. "Doc," he started, "I still want to be close to my wife. But every time we do it, I feel drained. I can't sleep after. My heart races. It's like I've run a marathon instead of sharing a moment with her." He looked down and added quietly, "She thinks I'm just avoiding her, that I'm lazy, but I'm not." I paused, then said what most men over 60 need to hear. "David, at your age, it's not about how often. It's about how well your body recovers. And whether your heart, your hormones, and your emotions are keeping up." That struck a chord. He nodded, and then asked the question I've heard hundreds of times. How often is too often? This video was made because of David, and for the countless men like him. Men who still desire love, connection, intimacy, but find their bodies reacting differently. Men who are told to man up, even when their health is telling them to slow down. No one ever taught them what's normal, or what's risky, or how to listen to the signs. So today let's talk, honestly, not about magic numbers, but about what your body is trying to tell you, about recovery, energy, hormones, warning signs, and the real difference between sex and intimacy. And if you're over 60, and you've ever wondered, am I doing it too much? Or is this why I feel off after? Then this might be the most important conversation you'll hear this year. If it speaks to you, or someone you care about, leave a comment, share this video, and subscribe. Because this is the kind of talk every man deserves to have, but few ever get. The big myth, the more the better, is a lie. There's one belief that keeps showing up in my clinic, spoken or unspoken, that the more sex a man has, the more manly he is. That frequency equals strength. That stamina means youth. But after 60, that belief becomes a dangerous lie. Let me explain. As men age, testosterone levels drop. Slowly but surely. This isn't weakness. It's just biology. By the time most men hit 60, their testosterone levels are 30 to 40% lower than during their peak years. That means less energy, longer recovery time, and more sensitivity to physical stress. At the same time, cardiovascular strength declines. Your heart doesn't pump as efficiently. Blood vessels stiffen. Oxygen delivery slows. And yes, that affects your erections, your stamina, and your ability to recover. Sex after 60 is no longer a race. It's not about speed or performance. It becomes something else entirely. Something more honest. A rhythm. A conversation between your desire and your biology. Harvard Health says it clearly. There is no ideal number for how often seniors should have sex. Some couples are happy with once a week. Others once a month. There is no magic number. What matters is, how do you feel after? Do you feel connected or exhausted? Do you feel more alive or more anxious? That's why I always tell my patients this. Sex is no longer a race. It's a gentle workout with your own body. When you try to match what you did at 40 or chase some online idea of masculinity, you risk burnout. You risk shame. You risk hurting yourself physically and emotionally. I remember one patient, Robert. He was 68. His wife was 10 years younger, still full of energy. He came in with constant fatigue, blood pressure spikes, and episodes of erectile dysfunction. He thought he was failing as a man, but really he was pushing himself beyond what his body could safely give. I've seen this over and over. Men don't want to admit it. They don't want to seem weak, so they stay silent, and slowly they burn out, because no one ever told them, this is normal, this is part of aging, this is okay. I always remind my patients, you're not less of a man because you can't do it 3 times a week. You're more of a man when you choose to honor your body, when you adjust, when you slow down, intentionally. The healthiest sex lives I've seen after 60 aren't about frequency. They're about presence. It's not about chasing youth. It's about enjoying the moment you're in. So if you're watching this, and deep down you've been feeling like you're falling behind, please let that go. There is no scoreboard. There is no race. Just a new rhythm waiting for you to embrace it. And trust me, it's a rhythm worth learning. Signs you're pushing too hard. Most men don't realize they've gone too far until the body forces them to stop. And by then it's already speaking loud and clear. Let me walk you through the most common signs I see in men over 60 who are pushing themselves too hard sexually. First, a racing heart that lasts too long. Not just a fast beat during intimacy, that's normal. I'm talking about palpitations or a pounding chest that continues for hours afterward. Sometimes it doesn't let them fall asleep. Which brings us to the second sign: insomnia. A surprising number of men tell me they feel wired or overstimulated after sex. They toss and turn. Their mind can't settle. Instead of feeling relaxed, they feel agitated. Third, temporary erectile dysfunction. Yes, this one surprises people. When your body is overworked, it protects itself. One way it does that is by reducing sexual response. If you notice that after frequent activity your erections are weaker, slower, or absent, that could be your body saying, "I need a break." Fourth, mood swings and emotional burnout. Many men don't link it to sex, but when testosterone drops too low, you can feel more anxious, more irritable, and completely drained, physically and emotionally. Like something's off, but you can't explain what. Now here's what's happening behind the scenes. Sex isn't just a physical act. It involves a whole network of hormones, nerves, and brain signals. At the center of it is something we call the HPG axis, the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. This is the command center for testosterone production. It's a delicate balance. But when you stress your body, especially without proper recovery, that axis gets kicked back. Your brain senses that your body is under strain, and it reduces testosterone to protect your system. It's a survival mechanism. But to you, it feels like fatigue, low libido, or even mild depression. This is why I say, when sex leaves you more exhausted than happy, you don't need to stop, but you need to shift. Pushing harder isn't the answer. Listening is. I remember one man, Mike, 64 years old, came in after a month of feeling like his spark was gone. Turns out he'd been having sex almost daily for weeks, trying to impress a new partner. He didn't want to admit how drained he felt. He thought saying it out loud made him sound weak. Or worse, old. That broke my heart. Because he's not the only one. I've had so many patients hide their symptoms. Mood changes, fatigue, lower performance. Just because they were afraid of losing their image as a real man. Let me say this clearly. That silence is hurting you more than any physical issue. Being honest about what you feel, about what's changing, that's not weakness. That's wisdom. And it could save your health. You can absolutely enjoy sex in your 60s, 70s, and even 80s, but only if you treat it like what it is, an energy exchange that requires care, rest, nutrition, emotional connection. So if you felt more irritable lately, or you're waking up tired after sex, or your body isn't responding like before, don't panic. You're not broken, but you are being asked to adjust. The goal is not to stop. The goal is to thrive, at a pace that fits your body, not your ego. Is there a safe number? What I tell my patients, this is the question I get asked most often, almost like clockwork. Doc, just tell me the number. How many times per week should I be having sex? And my answer is always the same. There's no one size fits all, but there is something even more useful. A safe range that respects your body, your health, and your season of life. If you're a generally healthy man over 60, with no major heart conditions or metabolic disorders, a good average might be 1 to 2 times per week, not because of a chart or a rule, but because this rhythm allows your body to recover, your hormones to stabilize, and your emotional connection to deepen. Now, if you have chronic conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, joint pain, or fatigue syndromes, then 2 to 4 times per month may be more realistic and safer. This doesn't mean you're less of a man. It means you're learning to work with your body, not against it. I often compare sex to cardio exercise, especially after age 60. You wouldn't wake up and go straight into a 5K run without stretching, warming up, fueling your body, and listening to your breath. So why do we treat sex like it requires no preparation at all? Good sex, especially in your 60s and beyond, requires the same elements: mental readiness, good nutrition, proper sleep, and emotional safety. If one of those pillars is missing, you may not enjoy it, or worse, your body may suffer afterward. So I give my patients a simple 3-question tool. If you answer yes to all 3, then chances are your pace is right. Do you feel more energized after intimacy rather than drained? Do you sleep better after sex, not worse? Do you feel emotionally closer to your partner or more disconnected? If you answered no to any of those, that's not failure. That's feedback. That's your body asking for a new rhythm. Because here's the truth. It's not about how often you have sex. It's about what sex is doing to your life. I've met men who only had sex twice a month, and yet felt vibrant, youthful, and deeply connected to their partners. And I've seen others chasing multiple times per week, but ending up with burnout, guilt, or relationship tension. That's why I say this to every man who walks into my office. You don't need more sex. You need more closeness, more touch, more eye contact, more honesty, more trust. The act itself is only a part of the picture, a symptom of the real health underneath. If you slow down and tune into your body and your partner, you'll discover your own safe number. And that number may change, season to season, year to year, but it will always be right, as long as it's built on self-awareness, not ego. So if you've been secretly wondering, am I doing enough? Or is once a week okay? Let me free you of that pressure. There is no rule book here, only real life, real bodies, and real relationships. The real danger isn't having too little sex. It's chasing the wrong kind of intimacy, for the wrong reasons, and forgetting that your health, your peace, and your connection matter more than any number. What really matters, intimacy versus performance. Somewhere along the way, we started to believe that performance is the most important part of sex. How long it lasts, how hard the erection is, how often it happens. But after 60, the truth becomes clear. Sex is no longer about performance. It's about connection. I've seen men obsessed with lasting longer or being strong like before. They measure themselves against old standards, often set by their 30-year-old self, or worse, by the internet. But here's what I've learned in over 30 years of practicing medicine. Your body will not perform like it did at 35. And it doesn't need to. Because at this age, what keeps you healthy, what keeps you alive, is not how much you do, but how connected you feel. There is a deep, proven link between emotional intimacy and physical response. When you feel safe, understood, and emotionally close to your partner, your brain sends stronger, clearer signals to your body. That means better blood flow, better arousal, better erections, and a more fulfilling experience, physically and emotionally. On the flip side, when there's stress, unspoken frustration, or emotional distance, even the healthiest body can struggle to respond. I always ask my male patients, when was the last time you told your wife how you really feel? Not just about sex, but about your fears, your exhaustion, your hopes, your changes. And I ask the same question to couples. Are you still talking to each other? Because I've noticed a pattern. The couples who talk, who touch, who laugh, they almost always have better sex. Even if it's less frequent, even if it looks nothing like it did when they were younger, it's still rich, it's still alive, it still connects them. That's the key. I remember one patient, Tom, 70 years old. He told me, "We don't do it as often anymore, but we hold hands every night. We kiss longer. We tell each other what we miss and what we still love." And then he said something that stuck with me. "Sometimes a long hug makes my heart race more than a quick climax ever did." That's when I understood. That is real intimacy. So if you're watching this and feeling pressure to be someone you used to be, or someone society says you should be, let it go. Your worth is not in how often you perform. It's in how deeply you connect. If you're tired, say it. If you're unsure, ask. If you're afraid, share it. This honesty creates safety. And safety is the root of intimacy, especially at our age. So what really matters now? Being present, being gentle, being curious about your partner again. Let your body change. Let the pace slow down. Let your connection grow deeper. Because in the end, it's not about what happens in the bedroom. It's about what starts long before. A soft glance, a quiet meal, a shared memory. Sex doesn't begin with a touch. It begins with trust. And I promise, that kind of intimacy will keep your heart beating strong, far longer than performance ever could. Final message, summary, and personal note. So what's the final takeaway? There is no perfect number, no golden rule, no chart that can replace the wisdom of your own body. Sex after 60 isn't about how much you do. It's about how well you feel and how deeply you connect. If it gives you energy, peace, and closeness, you're on the right track. But if it leaves you tired, anxious, or disconnected, don't stay silent. I say this to my patients every day. If you feel exhausted after every time you're intimate, don't keep it to yourself. Speak up. Adjust. There's nothing weak about honoring what your body is telling you. You deserve a sex life that brings joy, not pressure. Closeness, not shame. Healing, not hiding. And if this video helped you in any way, please share it. You might never know whose life you're saving, just by letting them know they're not alone. And if you'd like more real, honest advice about men's health after 60, hit subscribe. This is a space where we talk like grown men, with truth, care, and no judgment. Because aging doesn't mean ending. It means learning to love better, at your pace, in your way. And that's something worth sharing.